Good morning, everybody. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMA Oddsbreaker. We are here for UFC Vegas 25, where we have Dominic Reyes taking on Reyes-Prochazka. 11 fights on the card. Only 4 of these fights are expected to end inside the distance. Let's kick things off here this morning. First fight of the evening, we have Luke Sanders taking on Felipe-Colares. Colares coming in with a price tag of plus 110 as an underdog, taking on Luke Sanders, who has shit the bed many, many times. 13-4 record, minus 140 at the betting window. DraftKings price of $8,700. This fight does take place at 145 pounds. Look for an action bout here where we have lots of pops on the button. Felipe-Colares leaves a lot to be desired as far as strike and defense goes. Please proceed with caution, as we've seen Luke Sanders drop the ball many, many times in the past. Losses by submission. He's been caught last time out against Nate Maness. Colares, haven't seen him in a few years. Still only 27 years old, developing fighter. Dangerous spot, but I'll be picking Luke Sanders here. Overall, the more highly skilled fighter. Yes, he makes mental mistakes. There's lots of lapses there. But I believe that when it's all said and done, he'll get his hand raised. Give me Luke Sanders. Cool hand, Luke. Next up, we've got KB Bhullar taking on Michailidis. Michailidis, 12-4 record, Greek fighter who deceptively does have somewhat of a ground game. Against Fortuna, we saw him land a spinning wheel kick and take him out of there. KB Bhullar dropped by the Tom Breeze jab. That's what, unfortunately, he's been known for lately. Bhullar coming in with only one loss on his record, that loss to Tom Breeze, but he has not been fighting the highest level competition. Plus 185 at the betting window for Bhullar. 7,100 in DraftKings. Michailidis, minus 225, 9,100. We do see that Michailidis has dropped from light heavyweight down to middleweight for this bout. Looks great on the scales. No issue there. I am interested to see how this plays out if the fight ends up hitting the ground. Bhullar. KB Bhullar. He really got caught last time out right off the bat. And I'm not sure if that was due to the short notice weight cut, due to Tom Breeze's stiff jab, or that he just doesn't have a chin here. And Michailidis does throw heat. I do expect Michailidis to come through in this spot and get this done inside the distance. So give me Michailidis inside the distance. Next up, third fight of the night, we've got Sam Hughes taking on Loma-Lookboonmee. Lookboonmee, 5-2 mixed martial arts record, but that is deceptive because she does have a significant background in Muay Thai. That has been her entire life. Minus 405, pretty wide line here. 9,400. You look at the other side of the fight, Sam Hughes, also 5-2 record. More athletic fighter, stronger fighter. DraftKings price of only $6,800. This fight does take place at 115 pounds. Loma-Lookboonmee, the Jin Yun Fry fight last time out, you got to see what she's made of in there, refining her game. The striking is a few levels ahead of most of her competition. Angela Hill hung with her for a while and then ran away with it. Loma-Lookboonmee in this spot, I do see her having leaps and bounds as far as an advantage in the striking department. And also, as long as she's able to keep this fight off the ground, she should be coasting here. So give me Loma Lookboonmee. Sam Hughes, she didn't give us a decent account of herself in her last bout. And I'm interested to see if she's learned any lessons from the Tecia Torres beating that she took. There may not be much to learn in that fight because she ended up quitting on the stool in between rounds. Remember, the world seemed to be on the under in that fight, and it didn't cash. So I think we're going to see Loma Lookboonmee put on a clinic in this spot and win a decision in this spot. Next up, we have the return of Kai Kamaka, who suffered a horrific loss where he took a fight against Jonathan Pierce on short notice. Looked horrific on the scales, and the performance spoke for itself. And now we're seeing that in this line here where he's coming in. This line opened around minus 225-ish for Kai Kamaka and has been bet down all the way to minus 155. TJ Brown moved his camp over to James Krause. You talk about a fighter who can basically have a dramatic impact on the betting lines here. TJ Brown's move to James Krause, I mean, TJ Brown does have solid wrestling, and as long as he's able to follow a game plan where he doesn't get clipped, there is a path to victory for him here. TJ Brown has suffered 8 professional losses. He's coming in as a plus 125 underdog currently with a DraftKings price of $7,800. You watch TJ Brown out there, and this guy, if you're playing DraftKings, could potentially put up a significant score. He's been stopped in a number of his previous fights. This fight takes place at 145 pounds. Kai Kamaka is primarily a boxer wrestler, and I haven't seen anything in the interviews that tells me that he's really learned anything from the last fight and the loss to Jonathan Pierce. He's making it sound, he's going through the motions here, and he hasn't really accepted responsibility for a loss, and that's the first thing you want to see out of a fighter after they take a beatdown, a one-sided loss, and he hasn't done that. I know Joanna, former champion, is the queen of not accepting defeats, but in this spot, and you also have the Diaz brothers as well, right, who do that. Kai Kamaka, I'll be picking him to win here, though. I think that his skill set, you watch him on the LFA scene and on his come up, he is a solid fighter. He's got to shore up that takedown defense, though. And the longer this fight goes, I have concerns because TJ Brown, James Krause is going to be in charge of the controls of this fighter. And if he doesn't get clipped, there is a legitimate path to victory. But I still have to make Kai Kamaka my pick in this spot. I think that he's got the better kicking game. He's got the much better striking game. He has the better distance striking. This fight will probably not be played out as at distance. I think TJ Brown is going to come in here and try to get that takedown shirt up very quickly and just grind Kamaka out and really lean on him. But Kamaka at space, I see him doing a number on TJ Brown. So give me Kai Kamaka. Next up, we've got Randa Markos taking on Luana Pinheiro. Pinheiro, 8-1 record, primarily a judo fighter out of ATT, taking on Randa Markos, who's 10-1. She has not looked great recently. Has been on a skid, and this fight takes place at 125 pounds. Neither of these fighters had difficulty on the scale. I watched the tape here, and Pinheiro's one of those up-and-coming fighters who still looks very green. Randa Markos does have a wrestling background that could potentially cause Pinheiro some problems here. Randa Markos can get lit up on the feet. The coffee's great this morning. I think that is a concern, that Randa Markos could potentially get stopped here. If Pinheiro comes out and starts throwing volume, Randa Markos may try to level change and take this fight to the mat, but this is a stay away fight for me. Though in DraftKings, could be this is one of those mid-level fights at 8,500 where Pinheiro could come out here and land the kitchen sink on Markos and get her out of there. I will be picking Pinheiro to win this fight, though not with much confidence in this spot. I think Markos, one thing we know, she's tough as nails. The Hebus fight, the Dern fight, you saw her make big time mistakes there. She's got to stay smart here, but she's lost a lot of quickness, and I see that being a difference maker in this spot. Pinheiro coming in with the quicker hands and quicker feet. So give me Pinheiro. Next up, we've got another ladies fight. This one at 125 pounds. We've got Poliana Botelho taking on Luana-Carolina. Luana-Carolina coming in with a 6-2 record. Plus 210 betting underdog here. She missed weight in this spot, 7,300 in DraftKings. Botelho, 8-3 overall record. Low level fight, my friends. Minus 260 on this fight is a risky play. DraftKings price of 8,900. Botelho, she could potentially pay off her price tag with a submission victory, which really is in play. I would think that is the spot you want to take a look at. I'll be picking Botelho in this spot. Carolina, if this fight does play out on the feet, she has a legitimate chance at taking Botelho out, but I see Botelho taking this fight to the mat and locking up a submission. Give me Botelho for the win. Next up, we have a fight that's been in the making since September of 2020. We've got Merab Dvalishvili taking on Cody Stamann. Dvalishvili, 12-4 record, and Cody Stamann, on the other hand, he's a winner. Both of these fighters know how to win. At the highest level, may have faltered. Dvalishvili has two losses that could have gone his way. The Frankie Saenz fight and the Ricky Simón fight as well. Plus 200 at the betting window for Cody Stamann. The question here is, can Cody Stamann keep Merab Dvalishvili off of him long enough to land strikes? And we know he is primarily not a striker. I do believe Cody Stamann is the better striker in this matchup, although Dvalishvili showed some improvements against John Dodson. The key here, Dvalishvili's gas tank. We know no one outworks Merab Dvalishvili. He's going to stick on Cody Stamann like glue. He's going to try to land takedown after takedown after takedown. At minus 250, I think that line is a little wide. The DraftKings price, I think there may be some value at $9,000. Though when you watch Merab Dvalishvili on the feet, even against Gustavo Lopez, he runs into some challenges out there. And Cody Stamann, I could see the Sung Yadong fight. There have been others where Cody Stamann has come in like a ball of fire and has been able to really stalwart and stop some game plans out there. And I think that could potentially play out in this spot. I think that this fight being down at 135 pounds is in favor of Cody Stamann. He's been taking fights up at a weight class he has no business fighting at, 145 pounds. I know he's pretty thick and muscle bound, but his frame and the lack of reach. He has one of the shortest reaches in all of mixed martial arts, or men's mixed martial arts for that matter. You watch his, it's almost Sean Shirk level. Take a look at his reach. This fight, though, I'll be picking. This is a toss-up. This line, I believe, should be much closer in this spot. Tough to pick against Merab Dvalishvili. I will be picking against him in this spot, though. I think that Cody Stamann could potentially come out here, and I don't want to bank on Cody Stamann doing something that we haven't seen done before with Dvalishvili he hasn't been outworked before. And I don't see, if Cody Stamann wins, he's going to have to do it with the striking in this spot. I don't think he's going to be winning this fight with his wrestling. So the defensive wrestling is going to have to be in play, but I see that the striking being a difference maker down the stretch in this fight. So I'll be picking Cody Stamann, though not with much confidence. I think that Dvalishvili could potentially drop the ball here, but I'm not banking on Dvalishvili doing that. But I'll be picking Cody Stamann. Next up, Sean Strickland coming in, taking on Christoph Jotko. Both of these guys are winners. Look at their records: 22-3 for Strickland, 22-4 for Jotko. Both of these guys have fought legitimate competition. We've seen Strickland in there against Kamaru Usman, etc. Strickland, he suffered that horrific motorcycle accident and has looked great against Marshman, and also his last fight out against Brendan Allen. Strickland, man, his striking has been on point, especially as far as accuracy goes. Jotko, no slouch out there. ATT fighter coming in with Thiago Alves in his camp. Plus 220 underdog. DraftKings price of $7,000. Both of these guys, Jotko has fought at a lower weight class, and same with Strickland, but I believe that Strickland is the larger fighter here, coming in with the more refined striking. Jotko comes in looking to throw at volume. In this specific spot, Sean Strickland is going to be the play here. I believe that Jotko potentially could make this interesting, though. I think more likely than not, we see Sean Strickland win this fight, and he could potentially hurt Jotko. His punches at 185 pounds have a lot more pop on them, and we don't see much of a kicking game from Sean Strickland, but his takedown defense could be the difference maker here. I'll be picking Sean Strickland. I know Jotko is probably going to come in here and look to land takedowns and get his leg kick game going and body kick game going. But Sean Strickland knows that that's coming. He's tough as nails. He, besides the Zaleski dos Santos fight, hasn't been hurt very badly in fights. So I'll be picking Sean Strickland to win. Next up, we have the people's main event of the evening. We've got Ion Cutelaba taking on Dustin Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby coming in on short notice, but I don't put much stock into the short notice fight there, because his camp at Elevation, he's put in a lot of time with Anthony Smith, and Jacoby coming in at a DraftKings price of $8,000. This is one of those fights that you're probably going to want a piece of this in DraftKings. Cutelaba, 15-6 record, Moldovan wrestler who can throw hands. He's been TKO'd or knocked out in his previous two fights against Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed Ankalaev, I consider to be the best light heavyweight in the UFC. It's just only a matter of time. He could be walking around with that championship belt right now, as far as I'm concerned. Ion Cutelaba in this spot is this is one of those spots where he has a few paths to victory, but he also has a few paths to defeat, which is interesting. So he's got the better wrestling. He's got the better grappling. He's the stronger fighter. He makes bonehead decisions, and he runs out of gas. And he falls. He's a front runner. We know that. Dustin Jacoby has been caught in the past. Phenomenal kickboxer. Has transitioned to MMA and seems to be putting it all together. Coming in on a significant win streak here. The only issue is he has fought low-level competition. You look at Cutelaba's fought Cannonier. He's fought Glover Teixeira. He's fought a number of fighters who are at the top of the division, and he's fought well against a few of them. In this spot, I see Cutelaba coming in here, and this fight does take place in the smaller octagon. I see him really putting it on Jacoby. Jacoby's going to have to get ready to counter-strike because Cutelaba's coming after him. And I see Cutelaba coming out here and finishing Jacoby. There's the discrepancy in skill set when it comes to grappling is massive. And Jacoby, if he's able to extend Cutelaba, then he's in this fight. Also, if he's able to catch Cutelaba as he works his way inside, that's his other path to victory. But I'll be picking Cutelaba to win in that spot. Next up, we have another people's main event here where we have Cub Swanson with a 27-11 overall record taking on Giga-Chikadze. Giga-Chikadze, 12-2 record, minus 180 at the betting window. I do think that line is wide. Cub Swanson is going to be his toughest test yet. Chikadze is riding a 5-fight winning streak inside of the UFC, minus 145. Sorry, this fight takes place at 145 pounds. This fight, you've got Cub Swanson coming in at plus 150. I'm not sure why this line got to where it is right now, because Cub Swanson he has the better gas tank. He has the better ground game. He is the much more well-rounded fighter here. And I know he's getting up there in age. He's had the ACL repair. And Swanson's coming off of the fight against Pineda, where he looked great. Chikadze, though, he's one of those guys who he's flown under the radar. Not in this fight, though. He's getting respect at the betting window. This is a very close fight here. I would think Chikadze, I've been watching this line all week, and I would think that Chikadze would be closer to a pick'em here, even though I've rode the Chikadze wave his last few fights. That Omar Morales fight, you got to see how things played out there, and he looked great in that spot, but I don't think he's shored up all of his holes. I'll be reluctantly picking Chikadze to win via decision, but Cub Swanson is in this fight. This is a live spot if I've ever seen one for Cub Swanson. If this fight was in a larger octagon, I would say, hey, Cub Swanson is the play here. But if Swanson gets this fight to the ground, Chikadze I don't think is going to have the answers to get back up. So that's another thing. This fight could potentially, in the smaller octagon, lead to the fight hitting the mat. Chikadze, though, is the longer fighter here. He has the more slick stand-up. He has the better head movement. He's got the kicks, and I think that potentially, you talk about somebody who could potentially climb the ladder in this spot. Chikadze could do that if he's able to pull out a victory, but Cub Swanson is as live as they get in this spot. So give me Chikadze. Main event of the evening, where we have Dominic Reyes taking on Prochazka. Prochazka coming in 27-3-1 record. We've seen him in Ryzen throughout the years. He is a finisher, 24 TKO victories. Incredible how he's been able to last this long at this level with the lack of striking defense. But he's on the prowl. He's always looking for the finish. He darts in and darts out. Dominic Reyes, 12-2 record. Very lackluster performance last time out for Dominic Reyes. Plus 100 underdog. DraftKings price of 7,900. This fight, I see it ending inside the distance. The counter striking of Dominic Reyes is in play. He's going to be at a reach disadvantage here. Prochazka is very unorthodox. He really keeps people guessing, and he's a dangerous player at 205 pounds. No doubt about that. I think he could spark anybody at this weight class. The way he's able to throw his power punches, he does so in a way that he has no fear about what's coming back at him. You watch the Volkan Ozdemir fight, the first round and a half, he looked like a fool out there. He was getting picked apart, and then boom, all of a sudden landed a couple of strikes. Volkan felt his power, and that was it. Dominic Reyes in this spot, much less experience in mixed martial arts, better athlete, more tightly refined defensive game. That should be spoken about. This fight is a very closely lined fight for a reason. I'll be picking Dominic Reyes to score an upset victory in this spot, though Prochazka is a threat if there ever was one. This is a 50-50 fight, in my opinion. Prochazka, you look at his record, 27-3-1. I don't care if he's beaten bums all the way up. Reyes, besides the John Jones, Cannonier, OSP fights, he hasn't faced incredible competition other than John Jones and Blachowicz. In this spot, Reyes, I think that the kicking game could potentially be in play, but it's going to be the counter striking that is going to be the difference maker here. This fight, there are no certainties in this game, though. I think Reyes, he's the value side, and that he could potentially have won that fight against John Jones, and things would look dramatically differently. I mean, granted, even if he lost the belt to Blachowicz, which we saw he did. So give me Reyes in this spot. Want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning. Remember to go get what's yours, my friends. You can follow me at MikesMMAPicks on Twitter. You can check out my premium plays at MMA Oddsbreaker Premium. You can follow me on betmma.tips. I'm third-party track for years now, and we take one event at a time, one fight at a time. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.